Welcome to the Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Massachusetts.
And I'm Camille, Barron, a financial coordinator also in Massachusetts. And today we're going to hear more about a topic that we've talked about before, and it's about all of the crazy scams that are out there. Something new every day, it seems.
Yeah, usually they have the 10 top. Well, we are very fortunate to have as a return visitor, but it's been a while, Barbara Minkwitz, and she's with the Eastern Bank, and she takes care of many banks, and she's what's your title?
I'm a vice president and regional fraud investigator.
Regional fraud investigator.
Fraud investigator. What better expert can you have?
Absolutely.
Frauds. So tell us a little background again about yourself, and then let's talk.
As far as the background for myself, I've been in banking for a little over 30 years now. I started as a teller and then moved my way up to management and then saw an opportunity to work in the corporate security department. So I've been doing investigations and corporate security work for, probably 20 years or
Wow.
so. Yeah, so the crimes have definitely changed.
Tell us some of the things that have changed, the newest fraud scams out there.
Well, as a teller, back in the 80s, it was a faceless crime. I mean, it was a face crime. It was stolen checks, it was cash checks. But now, today, in today's industry, it's become a faceless crime because of the technology that's out there. Whether it be wire fraud, email fraud, business email compromises, there could be online scams like a romance scam, tax fraud.
Well, tell us about a romance scam. We haven't heard that one before.
The romance scams are pretty prominent in the industry today. People fall in love online. And they prey on individuals that may have lost a loved one, may have lost a parent just recently, and that are looking to get into the social aspect again. And what they typically do is put themselves out there on Match.com or any type, online type scam, and they start to have a communication with an individual. The individual portrays themselves as a successful individual, and through communication through the online aspect
Is it usually a man is the scammer and a woman is the victim?
Typically, we see both,
see
but
both?
typically it's the female that's the victim.
Yeah.
And then they may ask you to go offline from, say, Match.com and share an email. So they build a relationship back and forth. The scammer will ask various questions about yourself and, promising to come see you. If they can't come see you, they may say that they have a tragedy in their life that they can't come. And the name typically is not the name of the individual. They may pick any name out of a hat. Gregory Smith, Tom Cruise. It could be, any one of a million names. And they typically take themselves off of Match.com, so you're not actually seeing them on the site again.
Yeah.
And then through various communications, they may ask for some money to help them come over to the country.
Oh, so they say they're out of the country most
They
of the time?
do. They
There's the
do.
scam.
They could start in the country, and then because of their job, it's taken them international. And they just keep asking them for money. Typically, it starts slow, and it starts at a lower dollar value, and they may ask you to cable the money. So you go to Western Union and cable the money out. So it could be $200, $500, $1,000, and then it could get even more than that. And a lot of times, when it gets to the higher dollar values, they may ask you to make out a bank check made payable to another individual. And typically that other individual, they may say that it's a relative of theirs, they may say that it's a friend of theirs, they may say that it's a business partner, they could be going into a land deal, it could be a multitude of things. But the most important thing to really remember on those types of things is to if the money is not going to that individual, more than likely they don't have an account, they don't have any bank relationship, because that would prove their identity. And it's usually they need it for some reason. They need it for an emergency situation. They need it, and they're just going to continually con you into sending money.
Right.
And the more you send, the more they're going to ask. We've been in situations where we talk to individuals and they don't believe that they're involved with a scam at all. And it's really disheartening to see money going to individuals that are out there scamming people. So you really have to stay in communication with your financial institution, because they'll tell you not to talk to anybody and not say anything to anybody. Don't say anything to your children, to your grandchildren. And a lot of times when it does bottom out, they're ashamed, they're embarrassed, and it goes unreported.
You know, a lot of people don't know that the banks have a fraud division, but usually every bank has it.
Yep, they do.
Now, do you have meetings with all the other banks and you say, well, this is what's going on with us?
We do. And one of the meetings that we have on a monthly basis is through an international association for fraud investigators. And I'm the president for the New England chapter, so we have monthly meetings. And we hear the same types of scams happening throughout the industry. We also go to international meetings as well, or across the country meetings, and all of the financial institutions are reporting the same types of scams.
When I think of an organization like an industry, banking or insurance, where I happen to be from, I tend to think of it more as scams to try to get money from the company or from the bank. But what you're describing is actually not just that, but it's scams against probably bank customers. And you try to protect the bank customers as well.
Exactly. One of the other real large, one of the top fraud scams that are happening is business email compromises. And that's where the business, say XYZ company, has communication with a fraudster. Could be, again, through a virus that's on their computer, or it could be a vendor that's coming in, or it could be a CEO's email that was compromised. So a CEO is sending an email, or allegedly sending an email to a CFO requesting them to do a wire transfer.
And it's really not them.
And it's really not them.
You know what some of the companies are doing, like ours, the Saphire Event Group, they have every employee required to now take this, quote, course, and it teaches, and at the end of each section you have to answer questions like the different things. There's phishing, PHISH, and what it is, and then there's examples of just what you said, where somebody gets an email and they think it's really from a person that they work with, and it's not. And it says transfer money or send a check out to that. And all these, and they say too, any email can have a virus with the attachment, and the only safe one was a text attachment, that the PDFs and the words, they're all, do you have that too in the bank? Do you have teach? Well, how would you? Oh, that's a good thing. You should have one for the customers. Have a seminar for customers. Watch out.
Yeah, we always say from an internal standpoint, and the education from our info security department is you never want to open up an attachment. Or you don't want to open up an email that you don't know the sender. You know, as far as the wire transfer fraud and the business email compromise, if you hover your mouse over the email, you may see an additional letter in there that doesn't belong there. It's spelt incorrectly, but from the quick eye, they think that they're getting it from Saphire, but there could be an extra I in there, or a P that might not be recognized when we're all busy. We read the content of the email, and we do what we're asked to do. So you really have to look at how they're actually coming in. Does it make sense? And, you know, I go back to picking up the phone and calling the sender. So in one situation where the CFO gets an email, they know that their CEO is out on vacation, but let's pick up the phone and talk to your CEO and say, gee, Mr. So-and-so, have you sent me an email? And he probably has not.
Right. Yeah.
Because if
Well,
you
be
email,
so
if you
careful.
respond to that email, you're only responding to the fraudster.
So if something like that happens, like that example about the CEO supposedly sending a request to the CFO asking for money, so the CFO verifies that it wasn't really the CEO, is that something the bank would investigate?
We would. We would also recommend any customer that gets involved with an internet type crime, especially a business email compromise or an online scam, is to report it to ic3.gov. ic3.gov is an internet crime complaint center.
Oh, I never heard of
okay.
that.
Had I.
And
Yeah, IC3.
ic3.gov, and it was established in May of 2000, and for the depository of all internet type scams. It has grown to the point that now they're seeing trends, and those trends that they're seeing just in the email compromises alone, they're seeing that's a $3 billion to $4 billion industry in losses. And that's just the reported dollar amount. So it's a very valuable website, even through training for your own staff, is to take a look at it from an industry standpoint.
We'll ask you to repeat that again at the end for our viewers. I have to tell you that when we distribute, we're over in 24 towns, when we distribute Barbara Minkwitz, they all call back and say, this one is tremendous. Because it's so, it doesn't matter what walks of life are you from, or where you live or anything, everybody gets hit. Everybody gets a phone call.
Yeah.
Should we hit the phone calls yet?
Well, the other interesting one that has come to my attention a couple of different times in just doing some reading is computer intrusion or virus repair scam. And that could be multiple phone calls to a home address, and they get a little harassing. So you finally pick up the phone and you talk to this individual, and the individual says that you have a virus on your computer. Can you please help me? Let me help you get that virus off of your computer.
And they say they're Microsoft Windows.
It could be Microsoft, it could be it could be a computer security company that is probably legitimate, but they're purporting to be. Sometimes they're able to get right into your computer based on what authorization you provide them while you're on the phone. They could get into your Home Connect, depending on, again, what information you give them on the phone. And if you don't give them information to get into your banking, they may actually tell you to send them a check for services rendered. And there's really no services rendered because it's just a scam. So it's important, again, when you do go in, if you need to get that money, to just ask your bank teller, service associate, you know, and talk to them about it, because a lot of the banks today, they are educated on these type scams. And the worst thing that we want to see is our customers or any customer being scammed and having money go overseas to a mule, receiving that money, and then it gets wired out to various international countries. So it's really important, you know, to say what you're taking, or if you're being asked why you're taking a withdrawal.
You say a mule. Tell our viewers that it's not a real mule. What is it?
No,
A
a
carrier?
mule. Yeah,
A
no, a
carrier?
mule. If
It's
say, for
expression.
instance, if you got a phone call, okay, and you were asked to send money in a bank check, and you walked into your bank and you got a bank check payable to me, okay, and you were asked to mail it to California, to Arkansas, to Rhode Island, to any place. I might be a middle person, because that person, me, who the check is payable to, is also being victimized in a way. So it's like a domino effect. So the money trail is very difficult to follow for law enforcement, for federal authorities, but you need to act quick. So if, for instance, you mail me that check, I deposit it into my account thinking that I'm getting something based on a lottery scam that I won, and or a job interview that I just obtained and I was approved for a job, then I'm getting this bank check. And then I'm in turn been instructed to wire out the monies to yet a third account or a fourth account. So that's what a mule is. It could be like a middle person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of federal, I know Camille has got them. I got them several calls. This is the IRS. We're going to bring suit against you, or you're going to arrest you or whatever, and call right now this number. Of course, it may not be, the number might be another number, or it could be a real number, and they've intercepted the calls. So I reported that.
Yep.
Nothing. I mean, you report it to a thing, and it's a form, and nothing happens, and they do nothing. They even say on it that they basically do nothing. How can you get after those people?
Well, the IRS will not make a phone call if you owe taxes. And if you look at from a seasonality, those phone calls are going to increase between January and April, because when are our taxes due? Okay. So just reporting that to the IRS in a fashion that they say, again, it could be that they're using that information similar to the IC3.gov, accumulating that information. You know, if it's one-off number, or if now they see that there's a pattern coming in as far as those numbers, I'm sure that they are doing something on those, because they don't want that type of scam to continue. Callers that have actually received those phone calls have asked to withdraw a large amount of money and then deposit funds into another financial institution. And once you do that, then again, that person could be a suspect, or it could be a mule. But it's typically a large amount of money, could be $9,000, $10,000. Typically it's under a reporting dollar amount, so it could be $7,500, it could be $6,000, but if you look at it again, have you paid your taxes?
Well, there are a lot of people, probably thousands and millions of Joe Schmo, the working guy, who just didn't get around to it, and he knows that he owes it, so he's like scared, you know, and they don't think.
Yeah, exactly, because it's very demanding, it's very threatening. My recommendation would be, if you do get a phone call like that, is to call your local police department and ask them.
There's another phenomenon. It must be prevalent in banking as well. For instance, in the insurance industry, you'll have some scammers who will persuade someone who has a life insurance policy with cash value, meaning a permanent whole life policy, to cash in the policy, and then they're going to be able to sell them an even better policy.
Sure.
And in the meantime, they've used up they've taken the money out of that policy and given it to someone, and there's no life insurance policy coming.
And you know, I think they use people too to do that for them, because we got a call from this fellow that we knew, and he was insistent that it was such a good deal and he did it, and we knew him. And we said, it's a scam. Don't you realize you were scammed? Oh, no, it's good too. He was so insistent that we finally had to tell him, you know, we're going to have to report this.
Well, there must be scams of that nature with investments in accounts in the bank, right?
I'm not in the investment end, so I can't speak to that, but there's different similar probably types of things where we see a lot of, and I can mention card cracking. You can Google card cracking, and
Card cracking.
So someone is actually approached, an account holder
card
is
cracking.
approached for fast money. And it's typically the younger generation, high school, college, that might be approached at the T, at an amusement park or something, and they're basically told that if you give me your card with your password, I will give you $100 or $200, and then you just report it to the police. So even from a younger generation, kids going off to school, high school students,
heard that
you
one.
just have to be careful. Again, I think the old verbiage, if it sounds too good,
Well, then it is.
it might not be true. So the value of a checking account is really private. And you should never give out any information, whether it be personal identifying information or your debit card. That's your property.
They have a new one just the other day. It's all the time you see where people go into an ATM machine and then somebody comes in after them. What do they have, the camera, or they watch? They say they watch.
Yeah, what that is skimming. Skimming is
Well, all these new words.
prominent. I know is prominent. Where what they do is they put a device over an ATM bezel, or you can see it at gas pumps too.
I've heard about that.
And what they do is once you put your card in, it reads the back of the card, and then there is a camera that is watching you put in your password.
Unbelievable.
Once that information is captured, that's all you need to do ATM withdrawals. Okay? With the chip, the EMV cards now, merchants and ATMs have to be chip enabled. They have to be approved, okay, or authorized.
So that does make it hard.
So it does make it harder, but again, the fraudsters, their only job is to try to scam you. So they know how to override, they know how to compromise, and
incredible.
still,
Incredible. So you really should check your account on a daily basis.
You need to check, you really need to check your account on a regular basis, more frequent, especially with online banking today. You really have the access to your account and online banking, from a personal standpoint and from a business standpoint. Most of the bookkeepers or accounting divisions do have access to accounts and settle them daily. So it really is important to kind of, watch it. And I'm sure being in the insurance end of it, being in a large corporation, there are, your accounting division is actually watching your books on a daily basis to make sure that it's not compromised.
Right.
That you don't have unauthorized transactions or checks that come through.
So, it sounds like if you're a business, whether you're a large corporation or not, you probably have had experience enough or aware enough that you have some protections in place. But the average consumer, who's vulnerable maybe, there's not, they wouldn't
They
have
have
those
us to watch.
Right.
I can tell you how many people say, "Oh, we learned so much." But one of the things is we're almost to you've got to be kidding. You've got to be kidding. Do people ever come in the bank and said it's your fault?
I'm sure there is.
Even if you've got nothing to do with it, why didn't you warn us? I wonder if the bank, I'm just giving you ideas, should send out a newsletter with their bank statement and say, watch out for the latest scams. Do they do that?
What we have in each one of the branches, and I know a lot of the bank industries have that, is we have an FBI fraud alert. And it basically says if you can answer yes to any one of those questions, then you want to stop, you basically want to take a breath, you want to take a double take.
Can we have that? I'm going to put it in our newsletter.
So, and I think the IC3.gov is on the bottom of that as well. So a lot of the banks have instituted that, being in their lobby.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
I think online on your banks, if you go into the online banking end of it, they probably have a section for security and fraud alerts, those types of things, like Craigslist. I know that they watch out for scammers.
But I want to warn people lately, if you see a caller ID on your phone and it's a local phone number, they're using local phone numbers now, so watch out. And another common one is where it says United States.
Yep, I've received that too.
And what I was doing, I was blocking these callers, but then my phone got so filled, it said I had no more room for my own stuff. So Camille, what she does is she lets it ring, and if it's important, they'll leave a voicemail.
That's
So-
how
And
I
most of the
feel.
time they don't.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's how I
Sooner,
feel.
I mean, they have these robocalls and these predictive dialers that keep dialing the number. After a while,
Yeah.
if you don't answer after so many times, they're not going to continue.
Correct.
Sometimes they come back later in a few months and try again.
Well, I have our phone is listed under my mother's maiden name, so if somebody calls up and asks for her name, I know right off the bat that
It's
that
a
it's a
scam.
phony.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
a scam.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you had a good one. You said for You've Got to
Oh,
Be
for
Kidding.
You've Got to Be Kidding.
Oh, have you got to
And
be
this is our
kidding
You've Got to
bag.
Be Kidding bag, YGTBK, You've Got to Be Kidding. And as I mentioned earlier, I've worked in insurance for a very long time, and this was an actual case that happened. I found out about this in the required courses that we have to take. This was on
that's
ethics,
good.
ethics and compliance. And this actually happened. A life insurance company reported that it got a claim for to pay a death claim for a man who was in a car accident. And as it turned out, what had happened is these two women, widowed women, were looking for a way to make some extra money. And what they did is they dug up the body of the husband out of the grave, and they sat the body in the car dressed like he would have dressed if he was still alive, and they pushed the car off a cliff. And they filed a claim for an accidental death.
Well, they took insurance out on him first?
They had life insurance, and they took out the insurance on him, and they filed an accidental death claim and collected the life insurance. But it turned out, fortunately, the investigation revealed what had actually
That
happened.
he had died earlier.
Yes, he had already died. I mean,
knew
cats
that.
have 9 lives, but I don't
Yeah.
know about people having
yeah.
2 lives. So this really happened.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
What a great idea.
Oh, Jerry!
how
Tell
did-
Jerry to watch out.
We have a little studio audience there laughing. But anyway, how do they do that? How do they dig up the body? Somebody dug them up? They
Oh,
did
I don't
it
know.
with a
They must have
shovel or
paid.
something?
Maybe they
or-
paid somebody off at the cemetery. I have no idea. They didn't give those details. Maybe they were
They could have
afraid to.
robbed another body. That's another. Talk about scams. Watch out on certain funeral homes. Not all funeral homes, but we've heard some horrendous stories about how they, switch caskets or adjust the people's height so that they'll fit in there, and all kinds of horrible.
So you're not exempt. You're not free of all of this after you're gone. You
Yeah,
still
right.
can- It still can
Exactly.
happen.
Well, and identity theft of deceased
That's another
individuals
one.
could
Absolutely.
be
Identity
Very
theft is
high
a
as
whole,
well.
a whole other show.
Sure.
Barbara, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's always something new, Barbara.
It
Every
is.
time we see you,
It
because
is.
these scammers are just so ingenious with coming up with all
Yeah.
the latest techniques.
Well,
It's
this is-
unfortunate.
It's a
But
wrap. which
It's
is
fortunate
your
that we
job.
have people in industries like
Yeah,
this who are able
yeah,
to help
great,
us.
great,
So
great,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for our viewers, if you would like more information, you can send us an email, but it's www.ic3.gov.
And we'll put it in our newsletter.
We're going to put it in our newsletter, the Lawyer Money and You, and we can even put it on our Facebook page.
Yes, absolutely. We'll do that first.
So if you have questions or anything to give us in the way of ideas, if you'd like more information about fraud, please let us know. We get a lot of our ideas from you, our viewers. So please do let us hear from you, because remember, this is your show. The law, your money, and you.